Okay, let's step down from the mountain. We spent the last few deep dives really immersed in the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew chapters 5 through 7. Just incredible teaching.
Yeah, a real mountain of wisdom. And now, in Matthew chapter 8, the focus shifts, doesn't it? We move straight from Jesus' powerful words to his equally powerful actions.
Exactly. If the sermon showed his authority in teaching, chapter 8 shows that authority in action.
Spot on. So this deep dive is all about exploring and explaining Matthew chapter 8.
Yeah, our mission here is to unpack these events, figure out what they mean, and really see what they reveal about who Jesus is, his authority, what faith looks like, and what it really costs to follow him.
And if you've got your Bible nearby, we'd love for you to open it up to Matthew chapter 8 and follow along with us as we dig into these accounts. It really helps to see the text yourself.
Good idea. Okay,
Ah,
just to set the scene, quickly remember how chapter 7 ended. Jesus wrapping up with warnings about judging, the need for discernment, that great invitation to ask, seek, knock.
And the golden rule, summing up the law. But then it got pretty serious, right? The narrow gate, the tough path to life.
Yeah, warnings about false prophets, and making it clear that it's not just about saying you know him, but actually doing the Father's will.
Which led straight into that story about the builders, wise and foolish. You got to build on the rock, act on his words.
Right, and the crowds, they were just blown away, astonished, because he taught with this authority they hadn't seen before.
And it's precisely that authority shown in his words that now explodes into action in chapter 8. We're going to see his power over, well, pretty much everything.
Okay, let's dive in. First up, authority over sickness, and specifically touching someone considered untouchable. Chapter opens, Jesus comes down the mountain, huge crowds following.
And right away, a man with leprosy approaches him. Now, we need to get this. Leprosy back then wasn't just a skin disease. It meant total social and religious isolation.
Yes, ceremonially unclean, an outcast, basically no hope from a human perspective.
But this man, he comes right up to Jesus. And Matthew notes he knelt before him. That's an act of worship, deep respect.
And his words, so humble yet packed with faith, Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean.
That use of Lord is really significant here in Matthew's gospel. It's acknowledging Jesus' divine power. And notice, he doesn't doubt Jesus' ability, only his willingness. He fully believes Jesus can do it.
And Jesus' response, I mean, it's stunning. He reaches out his hand and touches the man.
Unthinkable. According to the law, touching a leper made you unclean. But Jesus reverses that completely.
Right. His touch doesn't defile him. It cleanses the leper. And his words are so powerful, so direct. I am willing. Be clean.
And instantly, the leprosy is gone, just like that.
Wow. But then Jesus gives some specific instructions. Go, show yourself to the priest, offer the gift Moses commanded. That's from Leviticus 14. But don't spread this around before you do that.
Yeah, and there are good reasons for that instruction. First, it showed Jesus respected and fulfilled the Mosaic law. Second, it provided official proof to the religious leaders that a genuine cleansing had occurred, something incredibly rare.
Yeah.
And third, it probably helped avoid, premature sensationalism or the crowd's misunderstanding his mission before the right time. He wasn't just a miracle worker.
Makes sense. So takeaway from miracle number 1, Jesus shows incredible compassion. He has absolute authority over disease, and he works within the law, fulfilling it.
It's a powerful start to his public ministry of deeds.
Okay, next, Jesus heads into Capernaum, his sort of home base. And here we get another incredible encounter showing his authority, this time over distance and even ethnicity. And we find amazing faith where you might least expect it.
Yes, a centurion comes to him. Let's pause on that. A Roman centurion, an officer commanding maybe 100 soldiers, a Gentile, a symbol of the occupying Roman force.
Yeah, the social dynamics alone are huge. A Roman officer approaching a Jewish teacher for help.
And he's not asking for himself. He's pleading for his servant, who's paralyzed and, the text says, dreadfully tormented.
That sounds awful. More than just paralysis, maybe intense pain or convulsions, really severe suffering.
Seems likely. And Jesus, full of compassion, just says, okay, I'll come and heal him.
But the centurion's reply, it's just astonishing. He says, Lord, I'm not worthy for you to even come under my roof. Just say the word and my servant will be healed.
Think about that humility from a Roman officer and the understanding of authority. He gets it. He compares it to his own military command.
Right. He says, I tell a soldier, go. And he goes. He believes Jesus' authority works the same way over sickness. Just a command, even from a distance, is enough. No need for touch or physical presence.
And Jesus marvels at this. He literally says, truly, I tell you, I haven't found faith like this anywhere in Israel.
Wow. Think about that contrast. The people with the covenant, the scriptures, the history, and this Gentile outsider shows greater faith.
And right off the back of that, Jesus gives this absolutely revolutionary prophecy. He says many Gentiles, people from the East and West, will come and join the great feast in the kingdom of heaven, sitting down with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
The messianic banquet image, fellowship with God.
Exactly. But then the shocker, he says some of the sons of the kingdom, ethnic Jews who thought they had it guaranteed, will be thrown out into outer darkness.
Whoa, so acceptance isn't about your bloodline or heritage. It's about faith.
Precisely. It shatters those ethnic or nationalistic assumptions about salvation. And then, verse 13 tells us the servant was healed at that very hour. Jesus spoke the word. Distance meant nothing to his authority.
Incredible. So the big insight here. Faith is what matters, not your background. Jesus welcomes everyone who believes, Jew or Gentile. Salvation's about belief, not birthright.
Powerfully put.
Okay, moving on. Still in Capernaum, Jesus goes from the public interaction with the centurion to a more private setting, Peter's house. And here, he shows authority over everyday illness, and Matthew connects it to prophecy.
Right, Peter's house. And Matthew casually mentions Jesus seeing his wife's mother, which, just as a side note, clearly shows Peter was married, despite some later traditions suggesting otherwise.
Good point. So, Peter's mother-in-law is sick in bed with a high fever. The Greek phrasing, having been thrown down, might suggest it was quite severe, leaving her really weak.
And what does Jesus do? So simple yet profound. He just touches her hand.
And the fever leaves her, instantly. And she's not just better, she's completely restored. She immediately gets up and starts serving them.
That's a wonderful picture, isn't it? Healing leads to grateful service.
Then later that evening, as the Sabbath ended and people could travel, they brought loads of people to him, people suffering from various sicknesses and many who were demon-possessed.
And Matthew summarizes, Jesus cast out the spirits with a word and healed all who were sick. Just, his word was enough for the demons too. Total authority.
And Matthew sees this as a direct fulfillment of prophecy. He quotes Isaiah 53, verse 4. He himself took our infirmities and bore our sicknesses.
Yeah, and that's a really rich quote. It points both to Jesus physically taking on sickness in his healing ministry and looking ahead to his ultimate work on the cross, where he bore our sins. His healing work wasn't easy. It cost him something, flowing from his own agony and compassion.
And thinking about us today, these stories are so comforting, aren't they? Jesus cares about ordinary suffering.
Yeah.
A fever, paralysis. He notices the people society might overlook, like a leper, a servant, a woman.
Absolutely. It shows his power over physical illness, yes, but also over spiritual oppression. And his compassion is for everyone, regardless of their status or background.
So the key insight from these healings, Jesus is the Messiah, fulfilling prophecy, with authority over sickness and spirits, driven by deep compassion for all.
But then Matthew pivots. After these amazing popular miracles, chapter 8 confronts us with a harder truth. The actual cost of following Jesus. It's not all crowds cheering.
Right. Jesus sees the huge crowds pressing in, maybe getting a bit overwhelming, and decides they need to cross to the other side of the Sea of Galilee. He sometimes withdrew from the masses.
And just as they're preparing to leave, a scribe, one of the religious lawyers, an expert in the law, comes up. He seems really eager. Teacher, he says, I will follow you wherever you go.
Sounds good, right? Ready to sign up.
But Jesus' answer is sobering. He says foxes have holes and birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head.
That title, Son of Man, Jesus uses it for himself a lot. It connects back to Daniel's prophecies linking him to divine glory, but also, crucially, to suffering and humility.
Exactly. So his reply isn't necessarily about being literally homeless or penniless all the time. It's about the nature of following him. It means radical self-denial. It means letting go of worldly comforts, security, stability. It means living by faith, always ready to move. He's essentially asking the scribe, are you really prepared for that kind of life?
It's a reality check.
Yeah.
Then another guy, identified as one of his disciples already, steps up. He also expresses willingness. Lord, let me first go and bury my father.
Okay, now this phrase, bury my father, might not mean what we immediately think. It wasn't necessarily that his father had just died and he needed to attend the funeral right then.
Oh, what else could it mean?
Well, scholars suggest a few possibilities. It could refer to a prolonged Jewish mourning practice, maybe waiting a year for a secondary burial. Or it could be a way of saying, let me wait until I receive my inheritance. Or perhaps just using a very important family duty as an excuse to delay making a full commitment to Jesus indefinitely.
So the exact reason might be debatable, But the point is, he's asking for a delay. He's putting something else first.
Precisely. And Jesus' response is sharp, really sharp.
Oh.
Follow me and let the dead bury their own dead.
Whoa, that sounds harsh.
It's definitely jarring. Again, interpretations vary. Maybe let the spiritually dead take care of the affairs of the physically dead, or perhaps it's a strong idiom emphasizing urgency. But whatever the exact nuance, the message is crystal clear, isn't it?
Yeah. The call to follow him is absolute. It's immediate. No excuses.
Total, immediate commitment. No delays, no putting other obligations, even seemingly legitimate ones, ahead of the kingdom's claim on your life.
And man, bringing that into today, it really challenges our own reasons for holding back, doesn't it? Worries about money, career, family expectations, just wanting comfort.
These are not comfortable passages. The key insight is stark. Following Jesus demands real sacrifice, radical self-denial. He requires absolute priority. Discipleship is immediate and costly. No half measures.
Heavy stuff.
Okay.
Shifting again. Next, we see Jesus demonstrate his authority over the raw power of nature itself, right in the middle of a terrifying storm. Jesus and the disciples get in a boat to cross the Sea of Galilee.
And bang! A furious storm hits them. The Sea of Galilee is notorious for these sudden violent squalls because of the surrounding hills funneling winds down onto the water.
And Matthew describes it as a great tempest. So violent the waves were swamping the boat, it was threatening to sink. These aren't landlubbers. Remember, several were experienced fishermen.
Exactly. If they were terrified, this storm must have been exceptionally bad. They genuinely thought they were going to die.
And the contrast is just amazing.
Oh.
While they're panicking, Jesus is
asleep, sound asleep in the stern of the boat. It shows his humanity, needing rest, yes, but perhaps also his perfect trust, his peace in the Father, even amidst the chaos.
So the disciples, frantic, wake him up, crying out, "Lord, save us, we're perishing." Total panic.
But notice, before he deals with the storm, Jesus deals with them. He rebukes their fear. Why are you fearful, O you of little faith?
Ouch, little faith. After all they'd seen already.
Right. That word fearful can imply cowardice, being timid when they should have been trusting. Jesus connects their fear directly to their lack of faith. They'd seen him heal, seen his authority. They had reasons to believe he could handle this too, but fear won out.
Then he stands up, speaks to the wind and the waves, rebukes them.
And the result? Instantaneous. A great calm. Not a gradual easing, but total stillness immediately.
The disciples are just left, stunned, utterly amazed. Their question says it all. What kind of man is this, that even the winds and the sea obey him?
And that's the point, isn't it? In the Old Testament, only God has that kind of power over creation, over the sea. Think Psalm 89. This is a revelation of his divine identity.
So relevant for us today, too. We all face storms, right? Financial storms, health storms, relationship storms.
Absolutely. And this story is such a powerful reminder. Jesus is in the boat with us through those storms. He has authority over the chaos that feels like it's going to sink us.
A big insight.
Yeah.
Jesus has absolute authority over nature. The disciples' fear revealed their shaky faith, challenging us to actively trust him when trials hit, instead of giving in to fear.
Well said.
Okay, finally, in this packed chapter, Matthew chapter 8 explained, we see Jesus exercise authority over the demonic realm. They reach the other side of the lake, the region of the Gadarenes.
And significantly, this is Gentile territory. Again, hinting at the gospel going beyond Israel.
As soon as they land, they're confronted by two men possessed by demons. Matthew says they came out for the tombs.
Yeah, why the tombs? Maybe demons are drawn to places associated with death and uncleanness, or maybe it was just a way to isolate the men, make them terrifying, play on superstition. Whatever the reason, these guys were dangerous. Exceedingly fierce, Matthew says. So much so that nobody could even use that road.
But the demons, they instantly recognize Jesus. They cry out, "What have we to do with you, Jesus, you Son of God?" They know who he is.
They absolutely do, and they know their ultimate destiny, too. They talk about being tormented and seem afraid. He's come to judge them before the time, before the final judgment.
Interesting. So they beg him, if he's going to cast them out, let them go into a large herd of pigs nearby.
Why pigs? Well, demons seem bent on destruction. They hate being idle. Maybe entering the pigs was a way to cause chaos, havoc, and maybe, strategically, to cause economic trouble for Jesus in that region. But notice this. Even demons can't possess pigs without Jesus' permission.
Right. And Jesus simply gives them permission.
Yeah.
Go.
And the demons leave the men and enter the pigs. And the whole herd, maybe 2,000 pigs, according to Mark's account, rushes down the steep bank into the lake and drowns.
That's dramatic. Why did Jesus allow that?
It's a debated point, but many see it primarily as a vivid, undeniable demonstration of the demon's true nature: destructive, deadly. This is what they wanted to do to the men. It also starkly contrasts the infinite value of human souls, now restored, with the value of animals or property. People matter infinitely more than pigs.
But the reaction of the local people, it's tragic.
Yeah.
The guys tending the pigs run off, tell everyone in town what happened about the pigs and about the men being healed.
So the whole town comes out to meet Jesus. You'd think they'd be amazed, grateful for the deliverance of these tormented men who had terrorized the region.
But no, they see the drowned pigs, calculate the economic loss, and Matthew says they begged him to depart from their region.
It's heartbreaking, isn't it? They valued their pigs, their material comfort, their economy, more than they valued the presence and power of the Son of God who had brought healing and deliverance. Spiritual blindness.
That hits hard today, too. How often do we prioritize comfort or money or avoiding disruption over welcoming Christ's work and authority in our lives?
It's a constant temptation. The key insight here: Jesus has absolute authority over demons. Their destructive nature is exposed, and sadly, so is the spiritual blindness of people who choose material security over spiritual reality.
Wow. Okay, so that's a walkthrough of the events. Now let's try pulling it all together. As we look back over Matthew chapter 8 explained, what are the big themes that jump out?
Well, the first one is impossible to miss: the authority of Jesus. It's hammered home again and again. Authority over sickness, over distance, over nature, over demons. Even implied authority over Seth in the call to discipleship. He is the divine Messiah, supreme over everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Second, I see a real focus on the nature of true faith. It pops up in surprising places, right? The leper, the centurion, amazing faith from outsiders.
And contrasted so sharply with the disciples' fear, their little faith in the storm, or the Gadarenes' complete lack of faith, their rejection of Jesus. True faith trusts his power and lordship completely, regardless of who you are or what the circumstances look like.
Then there's that challenging theme, the cost of discipleship, the scribe, the guy wanting to bury his father. Jesus makes it crystal clear: following him isn't casual. It demands sacrifice, total surrender, immediate commitment. It costs you comfort, security, sometimes even cherished relationships.
Definitely. And fourth, linked to the centurion especially, is the inclusivity of the kingdom. Jesus' welcome of the Gentile, his prophecy about the feast, it blows the doors open. Salvation is for everyone who believes, Jew or Gentile. Faith, not ethnicity, is the entry requirement.
And finally, maybe underlying all of it, is this confrontation with spiritual blindness. The miracles are amazing, but they don't automatically create faith, do they? The Gadarenes saw incredible power, but their hearts were fixed on their possessions. You need a willing heart to receive him.
Great summary. And these aren't just ancient history lessons. They have real practical bite for us today.
Totally. That humble, desperate faith of the leper and the centurion. That's how we should approach Jesus with our problems: sickness, stress, broken relationships, whatever. Come expecting him to act.
And that call to radical discipleship, it challenges us to ditch the excuses. Are we prioritizing career, family approval, financial comfort over Christ? He demands first place right now.
Yeah. And in life's storms, remember, he's in the boat. We need to consciously choose trust over fear, remembering his power over the chaos.
Recognizing his authority over evil means we don't have to be intimidated by darkness or temptation. We stand firm in his power, and we have to guard against that Gadarene temptation, letting materialism blind us to his presence and call.
And like Jesus welcomed the outsider, the centurion, we're called to break down barriers in our own communities, welcoming everyone.
And finally, like Peter's mother-in-law, when God works in our lives, heals us, saves us, provides for us, our response should be service. Use what he's done for you to bless others and glorify him.
Absolutely. But there's even more here, isn't there? Matthew seems to be using these stories to point beyond the immediate events, like foreshadowing.
Definitely. Chapter 8 foreshadows Christ himself. His healings point to the deeper healing of atonement, like Isaiah 53 suggests. His power over storms and demons anticipates his ultimate authority as judge. Even his rejection by the Gadarenes hints at the larger rejection he would face.
It foreshadows the church, too, right? The centurion's faith, the prophecy about East and West. That's the Gentile mission, the birth of the church.
Exactly. And the costly discipleship he demands. That's the pattern for believers down through history. His power over darkness becomes the authority he gives his followers.
And even end-time stuff. The storm mirroring tribulation, his return bringing peace, the separation at the banquet like final judgment, the defeat of demons pointing to his final victory.
Yeah, it's like Matthew gives us this prophetic trailer showing glimpses of the whole sweep of God's plan.
Okay, so wrapping up our deep dive into Matthew chapter 8 explained, what an incredible display of Jesus' divine authority, and what a challenge to us about faith and commitment.
It really forces some self-examination, doesn't it? Do we truly believe he has authority over our specific struggles? Is our faith active, or does it shrink back when things get tough? Are we making excuses? Are we maybe subtly valuing our pigs, our comfort, our control more than Christ?
Tough questions. It's a call to come to him with bold faith like the leper, to obey immediately like he demanded, to trust him fully in the storm, to stand against darkness in his strength, and to welcome others like he did.
Yeah, it reminds us he is willing if we come in faith, that he is present in the storm even if we feel like panicking, that demons do flee his name, and that the call to follow is always now. Drop the excuses, follow him.
So here's a final thought to chew on from this deep dive. Looking at all these characters, the leper, the centurion, the disciples, the scribe, the Gadarenes, which area hits closest to home for you right now? Where do you most need to grow? Is it in faith, obedience, courage, or maybe love and acceptance? Are you living fully in light of his authority, embracing his mission, ready for his return?
We really hope exploring Matthew chapter 8 together has been helpful, maybe challenging. The power Jesus shows here isn't just history, it's available for our struggles, our storms, our battles today. So let's drop the excuses and truly follow him.
If you found this deep dive useful, we'd appreciate it if you'd like, comment, and subscribe. It helps others find this content too.